যদি সবাই ফিরে যায়, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায়, যদি গহন পথে যাওয়ার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায়, তবে পথের কাটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে। যদি আলো না ধরে, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা আলো না ধরে, যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে, তবে বজ্রানলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে। একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো রে।
Hi guys, thank you for joining the live stream. I hope the audio is coming fine. This is not a discussion or any topic live stream. You all know, regular viewers know. This is a study with me or work along with me live stream. I'm going to be studying studying the book Dharma Democracy by Salvador Babones, because he's going to come on my podcast on the 25th of this month. We will talk a little for, let's say, 5-7 minutes, because there are too many pressing issues to discuss almost every day, and I'll inform you all of some things that is kind of like a promotion. Okay, let me just change some settings in my video. I forgot to turn the monetization off and the playlist, etc. I just returned home after a long day. Okay, someone's asking what MIDI keyboard and studio monitors do you use? My MIDI keyboard is a hilariously cheap, economical one, which is Nectar SE49. Okay, I use this one because, first of all, I'm not mainly a keyboard player. My background is in guitar, so it's not like I need to show off my keyboard playing skills. So I don't really need a extremely good keyboard. So I can make do with this one. And the other factor is, if you know anything about MIDI keyboards, this is an extremely cheap one. So if it breaks down, I don't give a shit. It has already broken down once, and I bought it immediately. I bought a new one immediately because it costs 7.5k or something like that. This is the best stuff for me. But a lot of people who are into specifically keyboard playing and electronic music production, of course, won't have a nice time with this, because there aren't those 1,000 knobs and MC pads and stuff. And my studio monitor is Eris E5. Important paragulo to bolo. From Bolo. Acha, you mean Bolo, right? You were there with the previous discussion as well, right? Yeah, I will. Yeah, whatever shocking I find from the book, I will discuss that. Wait, let me just change the settings. What else is there? Yeah. Thank you all for joining, by the way, guys. The playlist is Study With Me. Yeah, if you all have any work and stuff, sit down with me. If it helps you concentrate, if you feel lonely and therefore procrastinate, here's your chance to not procrastinate. This is sort of a group study session. English India news. हो गया सब कुछ, right? Okay. Timer, yeah, Neon will be a timer guy. Nice sweatshirt. Yeah, this is my favorite right now. Dibujana Das was murdered for his identity. This isn't religion, it's violent fanaticism. And when hooligans openly threaten India's seven sisters, the mask. Yes, sort of. Okay. So firstly, on the 23rd, that is Tuesday, 11 a.m., I expect all my viewers from in and around Kolkata to meet each other near the Bangladesh High Command for a protest march. I know the poster I shared says Gherao, but it's not exactly Gherao, because Gherao is going to be too risky and violent. we are going to at least do a protest march, at least let the High Commission know that there are people here in Kolkata who give a shit, who are not going to let them go scot free and forget all about it, and then they can kill the next Dipu Udas a few months later, which has already happened. They killed Utsav Mandal and we didn't do much, and now Dipu Das paid for it because of our inactivity. That's not going to happen anymore. Secondly, on 25th December, 1:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, Professor Salvatore Babones is going to come on my podcast to discuss his book Dharma Democracy for about 2.5 hours, 3 hours, hopefully. So if you all have read the book, prepare your questions. If you all haven't read the book, read the book along with me by 25th and ask your most informed questions. Find out what the book is all about, or check out my previous 2 days study with me live streams as well. It's a phenomenal takedown against every narrative and organization in the world which says India's democracy sucks, etc. Okay, with watertight, statistically backed arguments. Okay. Um, okay. Next thing is on 26th December, 7:30 p.m. Veteran journalist and now thriller fiction writer Jaggi Bhasin is going to come on my podcast to discuss his latest fiction book called Lies, Spies, and Nuclear Rise. Okay. And what else? 26 and 7. Like, there's something else probably. And also, yes, if there's only 7 people watching. If you all can, please keep donating to the links given below to help me fight my cases against the people who broke my thumb, and for the fake cases filed against me, the legal fees for quashing that case. I'm already 1.5 lakhs in debt. With your contributions, I can fight that and become debt free someday. But more importantly, the cases against all the accused will need to be pursued and pursued and pursued. Uh, First, they get arrested, then we go to hearings and keep asking for them to not get bail. All of that is going to cost money. So, if you want direct action, almost, okay, direct legal action against such people, help me pay my lawyer. Bangla Pakho did something like that today itself by saying Jang Bangla. Yeah. When did they do it? So they did some protest for the Budash. What's your opinion about the Calcutta Debate Club of Dr. Kunal Sarkar? Are you eager to go there and have a debate? Yeah. And I have attended those debates hosted by Kunal Sarkar once, the one that had J. Sai Deepak and Anand Ranganathan on either side. So yes, it would be a very honorable, very humbling opportunity. Okay, I'll start reading now. Neon, start the timer for 50 minutes, okay? And then we'll take 5-10 minutes of break, and then I can start studying. I have a plan to open a private e-library. Great. Cheers. My God. Sudeep, what a brilliant line to begin the second chapter with. Democracy is a slippery concept. Reduce it to the mere holding of elections and all sorts of unsavory regimes creep in. Restrict it with qualifiers like real or true, and every country can be said to fall short. I haven't started selling this cup. I'll do that depending on the 26 election results. threats. Sudeep, listen to this line. Yeah, I'll be checking out the chat every now and then. I'll be keeping an eye on it, but we'll talk only after 50 minutes. Listen to this line. India is not a, there is no doubt that 21st century India is a liberal democracy, but India is not a typical liberal democracy. Far from it. Most of the world's liberal democracies are rich, secular, and Western. India is none of those things. Its income per capita is a tiny fraction of that of the United States or the European Union, and India is a deeply religious country where 75% of the population claims to pray every day. Interestingly, Professor Babona seems to be conflating secular state with atheist population. Maybe because that's how the West is. I guess he means that. We'll have to ask him this point. Why did he say this? Yeah, we are all, we who agree on the Hindutva 2.0 idea are pretty much all agreeing upon the civil libertarian idea only. In terms of the state will uh, treat you like an individual and not get into your life too much, etc. The state will be libertarian, and you believe in that, so you are a civil libertarian. In your personal life, you don't have to be libertarian, etc. India is arguably the only poor, religious, non-Western liberal democracy in the world. Mayunder Shrike, we did a podcast with with a veteran Bangladeshi journalist and author yesterday in Bengali, so you probably missed it. He is also the co-author with along with Deep Haldar in their new book for the new book Inshallah Bangladesh. So yes, we are absolutely on it, and we and whichever of our viewers can attend, we are attending a protest march in front of the Bangladesh High Commission on Tuesday morning 11 a.m. If you know anyone from Kolkata, ask them to attend as well. By the way, the outcome of that Bengali interview podcast yesterday was that Bangladesh needs to be bifurcated right now because no one can control that mad crowd anymore. Because Hasina shot them, things got out of control. Yesterday, Yunus didn't shoot them, things got out of control. So now the only remaining choice is 1971 2.0. That's such a... Sudeep, or anyone else who's also reading the book along with me, Salvatore Babones is pointing out and letting Westerners for the first time even know that India has different laws for different religions. He's saying it's unrealistic, borderline anti-democratic to demand that political parties in India steer clear of religion in a country where religious identity is so central to daily life that the very laws that govern marriage, divorce, and inheritance differ according to people's religions. And therefore, I think he comfortably said that India is not secular. Religion between India and what? Imagining what a genuine non-Western democracy should. There is still the challenge of imagining what a genuine non-Western democracy should look like. There is the challenge of imagining what a genuine non-Western democracy should look like. Democracy. Seeker is saying something profound. The book is so awesome. Gives you the vibe of, makes you realize how, in fact, young India is. Salvatore Rabonis is proving how India is very much in the middle of its nation building process. Mm. Listen to this line. In short, the BJP does everything it can to succeed in a religiously plural society. But when all is said and done, the party is inextricably linked with the idea that India is a fundamentally, but not necessarily fundamentalist Hindu nation. Explicit understanding. Oh, holy shit. This part will be awesome. Critics maintain that the BJP's implicit and sometimes, when the mask falls, explicit understanding of India as a Hindu nation is incompatible with the core principles of liberal democracy. But is that really true? After all, in the United States, the United States is in many ways a Christian nation. The United States Congress opens its sessions with a prayer, and presidents routinely close speeches by asking God to bless America. No one seriously believes that the God referred to is any other but the God of the Bible. Christian religious fundamentalists overtly campaign on the basis of religion and exert a strong influence over government policies, despite the strict constitutional separation of church and state, sending funds to convert poor Indian children, wo to hai hi. Everyday government practices like the taking of oaths on the Christian Bible, though allowing for alternatives to be used on request, reflect the deep embeddedness of a presumption of Christianity in the United States. Americans are free to pursue whatever religion they choose or none at all, but the American nation as such is Christian in origin, practice, and outlook. Important quote: the American nation as such is Christian in origin, Christian in practice, and Christian in outlook. No, seeker, the fundamentals are different, so fundamentalist will be different. In the United Kingdom, the titular head of the Church of the sovereign is still the titular head of the Church of England and must by law be Anglican. In Belgium, Germany, and the Netherlands, major political parties include the word Christian in their very names. In Ireland, the Catholic Church runs most of the country's publicly funded elementary schools, and until recently, even state schools institutionalized Catholicism in the form of clerical oversight and graduation masses. Outside North America and Western Europe, Shinto ceremony is embedded in secular Japan's national institutions, and indigenous quasi religious ceremonies are increasingly common at state occasions in Australia and New Zealand. Many European countries have established churches that receive direct government subsidies and play central roles in state ceremonies. So you see, India is way less religious, or at least the way BJP is running the country is way less religious than so many Western countries which are considered to be non-religious in their operation. Holy shit, this is pretty good stuff. This I'll be marking not for asking him, but for remembering as an argument. So, among the well-functioning liberal democracies, I think it can be legitimately argued that India is, in fact, the least religious state. India has the least religious state machinery. Although, no, India's state is not least religious because it acknowledges different religions for everyone. But by degree, it can be still called the least. And if not, if we want to be, let's say, in a more bad mood, we can just say it's the only liberal democracy which actively ignores or puts down the religious majority of the country. Others don't. वैसे प्रदीप के छिब्बर कौन है? किसी ने नाम सुना है क्या? Political scientist. Salvatore Babone seems to have a lot of respect for him. He keeps citing him. Is he alive? Interesting distinction here. Key difference between India and these developed liberal democracies isn't the behavior of the Indian government, it's the character of the Indian society. Western governments, despite their nominal retention of religious imagery and institutions, are embedded in relatively agnostic societies. Irish children may still attend Catholic schools, but Irish adults voted to permit same sex marriage in 2015. 3 years later, they voted by an even wider margin to legalize abortion. Both referendums were resisted by the Catholic Church to no avail. So, in those countries, the populace is not religious, but the state is religious by some definitions, or has a lot has at least a higher degree of religiosity than the Indian state. But in India, the populace is very religious, but the state is not religious at all, except some situations like caste reservations and the absence of uniform civil code. Yes, Sikar, we'll chat after when we take a 5-10 minute break after 50 minutes of studying. Oh, this chapter is called The Minister Monk. I see. If UP were an independent country, it would be the fifth largest in the world. It would also be among the poorest in the world. It's relatively poor even by African standards, with income levels more akin to Ethiopia and Rwanda than to economic powerhouses like Nigeria and South Africa. The population of UP is 19% Muslim, as against 15% for India as a whole, and 21% Hindus from the lowest caste groups, as against 17% for India as a whole. Compared to other Indian states, UP has high levels of fertility, high levels of child mortality, and low levels of education. It reflects all of India's modernization challenges, only more so. Uttar Pradesh is the kind of place most Westerners imagine when they think about India. এই ভাই আমি লাইভ স্ট্রিমে রে। হ্যাঁ, লাইভ স্ট্রিম হয়ে গেলে তোকে টেক্সট করছি। यूपी का कितना एमपी सीट है, कोई बता तो। अच्छा, 80 seats in UP. Okay. Fuck, it's a double of West Bengal. Fuck. Almost double. He got his start in politics around the same time, joining the campaign for the building of a temple to the Hindu god Lord Ram, the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, on the site of a mosque that had been destroyed by a Hindu mob in 1992. He would have the opportunity to see this project through to completion 3 decades later as chief minister. What a journey. अच्छा, ये जो योगी आदित्यनाथ के जो मेंटर थे और प्रीडिसेसर थे गोरखनाथ मठ के फॉर्मर लीडर महंत अवैद्यनाथ, ये नाम का मतलब क्या है? अवैद्य नाम क्यों होगा? वैद्यनाथ तो नाम है ही, अवैद्य क्या है? The Gorakhnath temple is a major religious and civic establishment in relatively poor eastern UP, hosting schools, cow rescue facilities, and even a hospital. It has long been deeply engaged in local politics. Huh. It is not clear whether Adityanath sees himself as primarily a religious leader or a public servant. It seems most likely that he recognizes no distinction between the two roles. As Mahant of the Gorakhnath Mandir, he acted as a modern day Solomon. He reportedly held court every day in Gorakhpur to issue judgments on disputes referred to him by local people, a practice he is said to have continued after moving to Lucknow in 2017. Supporters and opponents alike see him as the monk who became chief minister. As a duly elected and genuinely popular democratic politician, the yogi is a uniquely Indian phenomenon. In his person, religion and politics are inextricably intertwined. The anti Romeo campaign was an invitation, almost a directive, to law enforcement that they should arrest suspicious looking, read Muslim, young men and crack down on young couples loitering in public. Inevitably, reports quickly emerged of police harassment and the summary punishment of suspected offenders. In reality, however, allegations of extra legal actions taken by police were relatively muted. In one incident, a man was publicly humiliated by being forced to assume an embarrassing stress position, a mild form of corporal punishment that is used in some Indian schools. In several other cases, police called young people's parents to alert them of their children's behavior. Stories emerged that Hindu Yuva Vahini gangs were engaging in anti Romeo violence, but the extent to which such incidents were directly tied to official policy is open to question. For example, a report that a man had his head shaved by anti Romeo police went viral, but it turned out that the punishment was inflicted by a civilian vigilante while police looked on. The three police officers involved were promptly suspended pending investigation. Hmm, this is interesting. In 2019, when police became lax in their anti Romeo patrolling, I still don't know how to pronounce patrolling, patrolling, patrolling. Adityanath ordered a new push, adding domestic violence to the agenda and ordering extra foot patrols in rural areas. Complaints about inappropriate moral policing died down, and Adityanath claimed to have succeeded in imposing law and order. In the end, the anti Romeo narrative generated a lot of alarmist press coverage, but it does not seem to have sparked the kinds of arbitrary enforcement or violent backlash anticipated by liberal intellectuals. For the most part, the Hindu Yuva Vahini seems to have stayed in the background and let the police enforce the law. Salvatore Babon is almost letting Hindu Yuva Vahini off the hook. Oh my god, listen to this. However crude his methods, Adityanath was at least making a visible effort to deter violence against women. Adityanath quickly suspended the police officers involved in the irregular cremation and ordered cremation of the Hathras rape victim, and ordered a state-level investigation into the entire affair. Perhaps bowing to pressure from the national government, he referred the case to the CBI, the equivalent of America's FBI. The four suspects were ultimately charged with gang rape, murder, caste-based atrocities. One was ultimately convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. The other three walked free pending appeal. How did the other three walk free? SC/ST नहीं लगा, attempt to murder, या तो क्या क्या केस दिया कि बेल मिल गया? Has anybody followed this case? What? One might say that although a horrific crime had been committed, and horrific crimes are committed everywhere, the justice system had worked. Three people who did that walked free. Nonetheless, the perpetrators of the Hathras incident were not the Muslim Romeos that Adityanath had so often warned of. They were all Hindus, members of the Thakur caste, and Adityanath is a Thakur. The Thakurs, known in the colonial era as Rajputs, sons of kings, are considered to have quote-unquote upper caste status in UP alongside the better-known Brahmins. Historically a village landlord caste, they account for less than 10% of the population of UP, but own more than 50% of the state's land. While not necessarily members of the business and managerial elite of modern high-tech India, they are a powerful local group and key BJP electoral constituency. The idea that young Thakur men might engage in gang violence in rural India with impunity is an ingrained cultural prejudice, whether or not it is true. In a state where caste politics are important and where 17 Lok Sabha seats are actually reserved for the caste. Yes, Seeker, they did. Okay, I'm finishing a paragraph. I don't know if the 50 minutes are up. I'll take a break anyway because I really need to pee. And I'll take two questions from here. And I'll have a sip of coffee as well. So, Omega is asking, how many hours do you practice guitar? I don't practice every day anymore because I'm not specifically a guitarist anymore. So, I don't actually need to practice guitar every day because my main instrument is not guitar anymore. It is 50 minutes. Good. So, I need some reasonable amount of skills to use in my guitar in my song arrangements. So in a week, let's say, unless I'm uh, playing the guitar for a particular song anyway, other than that, every now and then, 1 or 2 days in a week, I'll practice it for 1.5 hours, 2 hours in one day. And the other question was, who was talking about it? Yes, immensely expert in being. Excuse me. Yeah, one thing about Shonagachi. Remember, guys, a lot of the women in Shonagachi are also victims of love jihad in Bangladesh, who are later rejected by their family and stuff, who have no way of looking to anybody for help, who are trafficked to Shonagachi, and of course, elsewhere, many other brothels in the world as well, but Shonagachi as well. A lot of them are love jihad victims from a very young age who were rejected by their retarded families, or their families didn't even get a chance to accept or reject them. They were simply converted and then sold away. after they maybe had a kid or two. Okay, small break to self promote my music and a bit of a pee break.
বসন্ত এলো পাতা ঝরা বয়স পাড়ার সময় কিভাবে কে জানে এত রঙের সাথে হলো পরিচয় হৃদয়ে কিছুই দিয়ে যাচ্ছে যে অকারণে আমি কার কি আমার ভুলে যাচ্ছি দিন রাতের হিসেব বসন্ত এলো সুরে গান আমি গাইব এখন দাও বলে দাও দাও বলে দাও আমায় ঘিরে উদাস হাওয়া বয় নাও খুঁজে নাও আমায় খুঁজে নাও বসন্ত এলে শুধু ঘরের কোণে আর নয় আমার সাথে নিয়ে যাব দু হাত ধরে হৃদয়ে কিছুই দিয়ে যাচ্ছে যে অকারণে আমি কার কে আমার ভুলে যাচ্ছি দিন রাতের হিসেব বসন্ত এলো পাতা ঝরা বয়স পাড়ার সময় কিভাবে কে জানে এত রঙের সাথে হলো পরিচয় বসন্ত এলো বসন্ত এলো বসন্ত
कैमरा को क्या हुआ? Okay. There are entire areas inside Sonagachi where it's just primarily Muslim women, Bangladesh refugees, and poor abandoned women. They are victims of love jihad. Yes, Sudip, the lyrics are great. My BBK friend Krishanu, he's hardly BBK. He does not live in Kolkata proper. Phenomenal vocalist, composer, lyricist. The tune is made by him only. Should we restart then? बांग्लादेश का कुछ करना होगा. This fake country needs to cease to exist. पूरा पूरा लेके शायद फायदा नहीं है। हाँ, पूरा भी लेना भी पॉसिबल हो सकता है, मगर मार्शल लॉ में उतना पॉपुलेशन हैंडल करना शायद संभव नहीं होगा। बहुत ज़्यादा वायलेंस और डेथ हो जाएगा। मगर कुछ सेक्शन तो लेना है। पहले पार्टीशन करवाते हैं फिर से एक बार, उसके बाद कुछ करवाना पड़ेगा। देखते हैं, वी हैव टू ब्रेनस्टॉर्म इट, एंड since I plan to write that book in the next 10 years, within the next 10 years, I'll have to be an expert in Indian law as well as international law, definitely. क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली तो डंडे से ही करना है, मगर इंटेलेक्चुअल जस्टिफिकेशन तो लगेगा ही। क्योंकि कोई बोल सकता है कि ये इंटेलेक्चुअल जस्टिफिकेशन का है, कॉलोनियल माइंडसेट है, व्हाई डू यू नीड देयर वैलिडेशन। देखो, इंटेलेक्चुअल जस्टिफिकेशन ना देने से, सिर्फ डंडे के पावर से कुछ करने से ही बांग्लादेश जैसा चुतिया कंट्री बनता है, ठीक है। कि जैसे कि दीपू दास अरेस्ट करके ले गया, लौड़े का अरेस्ट, कुछ फायदा नहीं हुआ, पुलिस स्टेशन से बाहर निकाल के टांग दिया। तो इंटेलेक्चुअल जस्टिफिकेशन का जो नेसेसिटी है इंडिया में, वो ठीक ही है। Okay, restart the time onion. Salvatore Babon is pointing out the origins of the love jihad concept, guys. Now, the last time love jihad mania broke out in a serious way, it wasn't even over Hindu girls in poverty-stricken UP. The focus was Catholic girls in the relatively prosperous South Indian state of Kerala. सबका बदला लेगा रे तेरा बाबोनेस, डीप स्टेट का, फेक नैरेटिव का, झूठ का, सैंक्शंस का। ये क्या है? ये तो मुझे पता भी नहीं था. Listen to this. The first arrest under UP's new forced conversion law was a young Muslim man whose Hindu girlfriend's father had filed a complaint. The suspect was actually accused of very serious crimes, including a threat to kill the woman and her parents. He spent 14 days in jail before being released, though it seems this was not due to the forced conversion complaint, but to his efforts to evade arrest. तो वैसा एक्यूजेशन से 14 डेज के बाद बेल कैसे मिल गया? मतलब अच्छा, तो क्या पूरा का पूरा ही फेक एक्यूजेशन था इसका मतलब? नहीं तो कैसे निकलता है? क्या कपिल सिब्बल लॉयर है क्या इसका? $855 people have been arrested in 433 distinct alleged love jihad cases in the first 3 years of the operation of this law. It appears that at least half of these cases involved either bona fide forced conversions or illegal marriages of minors. Holy shit. As of mid 2023, only 4 cases had gone to trial. The main effect of the law seems to have been to spur police to intervene to prevent the exploitation of young women by catching potentially forced marriages before they are solemnized and consummated. Under the law, only the couples involved and their immediate family have standing to make complaints. पद्म भूषण मिलेगा, कभी ना कभी मिलेगा ये भवन को, लग रहा है. फिर से एक धोती खोलना. A major 2019-2020 survey on religion in India conducted by the Pew Research Center found that 82% of Indians opposed women marrying outside of their religion, with the percentage being highest among Muslims at 89%. 99% of all Indians reported being married to someone of the same religion. Babonas has not yet directly talked about the absence of uniform civil codes, but he has now harped upon it the third time so far in this chapter, indirectly. India is a profoundly conservative country where the laws covering marriage, divorce, child custody, and inheritance differ by religion. He's going on pointing it out. Oh, he's now talking about it. Seen from a Western liberal perspective, the obvious way to address the whole issue of interfaith marriages would be to get rid of religion specific laws altogether. As it happens, the application of such a uniform civil code to all of India's people, regardless of a religion, has long been one of the quote unquote core issues of the BJP and its predecessor party, the Janasangh. In India's counterintuitive ideological landscape, support for special Sharia based Muslim family laws is actually a liberal political shibboleth. It is the supposed Hindu nationalists who want civil marriage until Indian society is ready to move toward a religion blind family law regime. Anti conversion laws may be the best political compromise that a poor state like UP can manage. What the fuck? Salvatore Babones जी ने ये क्या बोल दिया? Shit. इसमें मेरा कोई क्वेश्चन तो नहीं होगा, but I'll ask him to repeat this point in the podcast if I get a chance. Hearing it from his mouth will be fascinating. Fuck. হাসখালি না সন্দেশখালি। Counterintuitive ideological landscape. Yeah, that will be my question. Okay. Sir, say something about India's counterintuitive ideological landscape. Lol. This was insane. Yeah, they aren't liberal, but Babonas can't go into that. Hello, Shekhar Bhatt. I'm good. The application of such a uniform civil code, which would be a Western liberal perspective, is the core issue of BJP. And Sharia-based Muslim family law is actually a liberal political shibboleth. Oh my God. If it was in fact someone's genius idea to hire or push Salvatore Babones towards writing such a book, that man also deserves some highest, at least somewhat of a significant civilian award. Defeat of caste politics, a subchapter now. Okay, listen to this first line. Yeah, I understood you are Indian political TV from the DP, Shekhar. The controversy that perpetually swirls around Yogi Adityanath has little to do with the substance of his record as Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. Holy shit. You all won't believe the things he's writing now. Guys, listen to the very next sentence. He seems to have been a competent administrator by Indian standards and a breath of fresh air by the standards of most third world countries. Yogi Adityanath, breath of fresh air. यही सुनना बाकी रह गया था एक white man से. हाँ, और बोलो. Who cares what the West says? Why do you need the validation? He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Oh my God. Another insane sentence has just been written, okay? Listen to this. He's justifying Adityanath in another way. Adityanath's overtly Islamophobic rhetoric although certainly not acceptable from a liberal standpoint, is not particularly out of line with the rough and tumble of populist state level politics in India. It is routinely criticized in India's elite English language press, but it is only exceptional because Adityanath is seen to be a potential future prime minister, not merely a firebrand local politician. So he's saying if he was a local firebrand local politician, it would be very commonplace and the press would not really care about it because it's just that common. Although common doesn't make it justified, but this point that he is being criticized extra just because he's a potential future PM is also not nothing. Here's an interesting data about Yogi Adityanath's popularity. Why would a national political party like the BJP make such a polarizing figure as Yogi Adityanath, the chief minister of India's largest state, a state, moreover, that is the key to its electoral strategy for the entire country? The simplest and most obvious explanation is that he's popular. Adityanath was already a rising star when he was made a chief minister in 2017, and since then he has only become more popular. As of 2024, national polling from the magazine India Today had rated him the country's most popular state chief minister for 8 years running. That is to say, every year he has been in office, and the competition is not even close. In 2024, more than 46% of Indians nationwide named him as the best out of a field of 30 contenders, with the remaining 29 chief ministers splitting the remaining 54% of the vote. It's hard to argue with that kind of popularity. Acha, guys, I'm not getting the meaning of a sentence grammatically. Well, my English is pretty good by Indian standards, but this is above my okat. The sentence is the BJP had won the 2017 UP elections in a landslide, taking more than three quarters of the seats in the state's legislative assembly, but they actually received only a plurality of the votes. तो ये plurality of the votes का मतलब क्या है यहाँ पे? Or maybe because I slept very less yesterday. That's why last night. That's why I'm not getting it. But they actually received only a plurality of the votes. Three-quarters of the seats. Let's see. Anyway, what he talks to, what he's bothered about. If a foreigner reads this book, they're definitely getting a very accurate primer on Indian politics, at least. This book is like reading 15 books on India. Because there has been 5 years of research in writing this book. Okay, finally, some clarification on the caste situation in India, which is very important for Westerners to know. As a Thakur, Adityanath himself hails from an quote-unquote upper caste background, but as the Mahant of the Gorakhnath Mandir, he spiritually stands outside the caste system entirely. In fact, like most Hindu orders today, the Gorakhnath Mutt does not recognize caste distinctions. Adityanath's cross-caste appeal seems to have been crucial to the BJP's success in the 2019 national elections. While Adityanath headlining the party's campaign, with Adityanath headlining the party's campaign, the BJP's vote in UP came in at just a sliver short of 50%, well above its previous results in the state. In India's fractured party system, half the vote can represent a big win, and it did that year for Adityanath and the BJP. When the BJP decided to campaign in 2024 without Yogi Adityanath as its leading face, its Lok Sabha seat haul from UP fell from 62 to just 33. The political journalist Razib Sardesai reported that the Yogi was deeply unhappy with the BJP's choice of Lok Sabha candidates for 2024 since hardly any of his suggestions were accepted. In the upcoming 2027 UP Legislative Assembly elections, it seems likely that the Yogi will be firmly back in charge. Yeah, the book costs 2K because it's the Australian edition. The Indian edition hasn't released yet. You'll see one is there for about $600, a hardcover, but it's not available yet. Breaking the power of caste in UP politics in the 2017 election was no mean feat. So he's casually admitting that, yeah, the power of caste in UP politics has been broken. While it inevitably engages in the politics of caste and personality in making electoral alliances across India's 36 states and union territories, within its own ranks, it stresses teamwork and meritocracy. In that regard, the BJP's best calling card is Prime Minister himself. Narendra Modi is the son of a small town railway station chaiwala tea seller. He earned his bachelor's and master's degree by mail via correspondence school. He has no children. It only became public knowledge in 2014 that he even had a wife, and none of his siblings is involved in politics or big business. He is squeaky clean, which is probably why the BJP tolerates his emerging personality cult. Yet Adityanath, for all his faults, makes Modi look like a libertine. He doesn't just live like a monk, he is a monk. After a quarter century in politics, his declared net worth is less than $200,000. He owns no land or vehicles. He is reputed to rise long before dawn to pray, practice yoga, and spend time with cows. As the chief priest of the Goraknath Mandir, he has disowned his biological family and vowed to live a life of chastity and discipline. His biological siblings live even more modestly than Modi's. Unlike Modi, however, guys, what an impression building is happening for Yogi Adityanath. Is this book secretly funded? No, the first chapter was on VDEM. Second chapter is on Yogi Adityanath. So maybe all of these people who hate VDEM, people who like Yogi Adityanath, all of them have funded this book maybe or funded this research. I'm just joking. That's not the case. Nobody sue me, please. But this is extremely good PR if and when Yogi Adityanath becomes PM. We are going to have this book as a ready-made PR campaign, press release to throw at people's faces. थोड़ा क्रिटिसिज्म भी है कि हाथरस में पूरी परफेक्शन से डीलिंग नहीं हो पाई, ठीक है, बहुत बढ़िया चीज भी है. I guess that's the difference between a लेम पीआर एंड एन एक्चुअल पीआर. ये एक्चुअल पीआर है क्योंकि यहाँ पे हम बोल पाएंगे कि जो आदमी क्रिटिसाइज कर रहा है फॉर द मिस्टेक्स ऑफ योगी आदित्यनाथ, इवन ही इज सेइंग दीज इनक्रेडिबल ऑसम थिंग्स अबाउट योगी आदित्यनाथ. His biological siblings live even more modestly than Modi's. Unlike Modi, however, Adityanath has an organized base of support outside the BJP. As Mahant of the Goraknath Mandir, he leads the Goraknath Mutt religious order. The Goraknath Mutt is not a political organization and is unlikely ever to become one. But it is no coincidence that in a 2024 election in which the BJP suffered serious losses throughout UP, it held on to all 5 of the Lok Sabha seats in and surrounding Gorakhpur. Holy shit. Arpit Gulani just hit rewind at around the 1 hour mark. We took a small break and I put up a video of or one of my songs, and you can hear me playing the guitar there. By the way, Shudip, listen to this sentence. An insane PR now. The Yogi is now a major figure in the BJP, but he is one of the few major figures who could probably go it alone and take several seats with him. An insane PR now. Arpit is saying, I recently started reading essays on Gita by Shiv. Thank you, Arpit. An insane paragraph I'm about to read out, guys. I'll have to underline this completely. वैसे I would like to take back everything I said about the Dhurandhar album. It's growing on me. It's that kind of an album where it grows on you. Of course, the basic tunes are not as catchy and sing-alongable as the Udi songs, but overall they are very awesome. Probably as awesome as Udi, if not better. But the amount of reluctance I had about that album, I don't have that anymore. I'm listening to it on loop, and I'm very happy that S.D. Burman's composition sung by Manna De is now in all our lips all day now. So listen to this line, and a phenomenal observation. The fact that the BJP has elevated a firebrand Hindu nationalist to the leadership of India's largest state seems to confirm the worst fears of uh, of intellectuals about Indian democracy. For the fears of the academic critics of BJP, okay? But the fact that in doing so, they have reined in his more egregious provocations and redirected his energies toward the delivery of secular, caste blind government services suggests something else. It is possible, after all, that Modi and the BJP took a chance on Adityanath because they thought he could break the stranglehold of caste and cronism on UP politics and deliver clean, effective government in its place. By all accounts, Adityanath threw himself into the day-to-day work of government administration at a pace previously unheard of in UP. Yeah, Rajeshwar speaks pretty awesome. I don't know if he is that active on the ground, or even if he even can be that active on the ground, because he's from a locality where there aren't much right wingers. Oh my god, more PR for Yogi Adityanath. Brace yourselves, guys. Listen to this. Holy shit. Who would have thought there would be a chapter completely on PR for Yogi Adityanath? In all the breathless reporting on Adityanath's idiosyncratic law and order initiatives, it was rarely noted that the chief minister inherited a police force that was riddled with corruption in recruitment and promotion. He implemented a statewide crackdown on cheating that led to a decline of 1 million in the number of people choosing to sit the qualifying exams. Denied the opportunity to cheat, candidates didn't bother to take the tests. He pushed hard to clean up a civil service that was plagued by low standards and chronic absenteeism, setting a personal example of long hours and dedication to duty. When the coronavirus hit and the national government ordered a 3-week lockdown, he organized a combined state and volunteer service to deliver food to people trapped in their homes. The proportion of people who actually received the promised aid is unknown, but politically, that hardly matters in a state where historical failures have entrenched a culture of low expectations. West Bengal's future. Unlike his predecessors of the previous 15 years, Adityanath actually forced civil servants to show up at their offices. Road building, metro construction, electricity provision, public health measures, the rapid construction of the Ram Mandir and associated infrastructure, whether or not Adityanath has actually succeeded in getting things done for the people of Uttar Pradesh, he has made a point of doing them. Adityanath raised expectations with outsized promises of government efficiency, then very visibly worked to fulfill them. In a state that is as just poor as most of sub Saharan Africa and potentially just as corrupt, he showed a level of dedication to duty that is hard to find anywhere in politics. He might disrupt and offend, but no one could accuse the yogi of lacking a strong sense of dharma. Precisely to whom he feels he owes his dharmic duty is, however, open to question. क्या सब लिखा जा रहा है यहाँ पे? সুসুপ্ত পাঠকের লেখা পড়ি, স্ট্যাটাস ফ্যাটাসও দেখি। অ্যানোনিমাস অ্যাকাউন্ট বলে অতটা পাত্তা দিই না। অ্যানোনিমাস হয়ে যে যা খুশি বলতে পারে, তুমি যেমন যেমন বলছো যা খুশি, রিয়েল নেমে আসলে তো বলতে না এগুলো। আমি অ্যানোনিমাস লেখা ফেখা একদম আর পাত্তা দিই না এখন। ऑस्ट्रेलियन सोशलिस्ट के बुक में ये क्या कोट है सुनो। As you discern your own dharma, you should not waver. For the warrior, there can be found nothing greater than battle for the sake of dharma. भगवद गीत का कोटेशन हो रहा है। There is no doubt that Adityanath is a warrior for dharma. The only question is which dharma is he fighting for? The Rashtra dharma, the Rashtra or national dharma of his duty to India, or the Sanatana, eternal dharma of his duty to religion. As a monk who has renounced worldly affairs and devoted his life to spiritual service, he may believe that these two are one and the same thing. So you're saying he's Bhitu. It's not a problem that you are Bhitu. Therefore, the solution seeker is to say only those things which you can say bravely. There's no point in saying those things which require you to stay anonymous, because then it becomes absolutely irrelevant. Oh my God. Another great PR for Yogi. Despite many opportunities for mischief, the worst fears of Adityanath's many critics have not come to pass. Fuck. Oh my God. Guys, you all have to brace yourselves. Now we are going to listen to the opposite now. We are going to listen to what might sound like a hit job on Akhilesh Yadav now. Despite many opportunities for mischief, the worst fears of many critics have not come to pass first and foremost. Ironically, liberal critics seem to have forgotten that many of those fears actually did come to pass under Adityanath's predecessor as Chief Minister of UP, the young, modern-sounding, Australian-educated environmental engineer Akhilesh Yadav. Modern-sounding Australian. It was under the nominally secular Yadav administration that UP suffered its worst intercommunal violence of the post-independence period, the 2013 Muzaffarnagar riots. A prominent Indian academic and human rights activist who is a staunch critic of Adityanath and the BJP describes it thus. Quote, between 27 August and 17 September, massified violence targeted the Muslim community in Muzaffarnagar. At the onset, 2 Hindus accused and killed a Muslim youth for allegedly sexually harassing a Hindu woman and relative. In the violence that ensued, 62 people died, 93 suffered injuries, women were gang raped, and approximately 40 to 50,000 people were displaced. 3 months after the violence, relief centers were shut down. End quote. There is some debate over exactly what prompted the initial dispute. It seems to have actually been a traffic accident. But it should be noted that those killed and displaced were overwhelmingly Muslim. Whoever was responsible for stoking the violence, it is clear who was responsible for providing relief in the aftermath of the riots. The UP government, then led by Chief Minister Yadav. Yet, notwithstanding Yadav's technocratic reputation, the living conditions in the camps established by his UP government were characterized as appalling, quote-unquote appalling, by India's National Human Rights Commission. Seemingly credible allegations were made that funds appropriated for support never made it to families in need, of obviously socialism. 3 years later, in 2016, at least 30,000 displaced Muzaffarnagar refugees still had not been rehoused. None of these criticisms are drawn from BJP-linked sources. None of these criticisms are drawn from BJP-linked sources. If Yadav and the Samajwadi Party exhibited any sense of dharma in the aftermath of the Muzaffarnagar riots, it was the swadharma of clientist politics and institutionalized corruption. It's no wonder that UP voters were ready for a change in 2017. They didn't elect Adityanath to be their chief minister. He was chosen by the BJP to lead the state only after the elections. But they did opt for a new kind of dharma in their state leadership. Previously, they had consistently voted along caste and religious lines. In 2017, increasing numbers of UP voters, though still not the majority, defected to the BJP, and in the 2022 state elections, they confirmed that decision. With Adityanath as their standard bearer, the BJP took a plurality of 41.3% of the vote. In 2023, Adityanath became UP's longest continuously serving chief minister, and he remains popular today. His approval rating in UP in 2024 exceeded 50%. No one can know for sure whether Adityanath and the BJP won re-election in UP because of their reputation for Hindu nationalism or because of their success in delivering electricity, toilets, cooking gas, minibuses, and law enforcement. What is known is that the BJP proudly wears its Rashtra Dharma on its saffron sleeves. It is a national party that campaigns mainly on national issues and actively seeks the votes of all Indians. That includes Muslims, although they have so far had only moderate success in winning Muslim votes. The party does espouse a specifically Hindu vision of the Indian nation, but it is open to debate whether it does so primarily to exclude Muslims, the conventional view of South Asia experts and Western political theorists, or to unify Hindus, the BJP's own understanding of itself. The difference may be only one of emphasis, but it is far from pedantic. Sikar এটা ছোট্ট পার্সেন্টেজ দেয়। I see. I'll finish the chapter and then end the live stream. कितना पेज बाकी है? 1 2 3 4 5 6 6 पेजेस बाकी है। चलो उसके बाद थोड़ा 10-15 मिनट बात करेंगे, फिर ऑफलाइन चले जाएंगे। आई एम गेटिंग हंग्री। India's first modern political party. Holy shit. Guys, Babones ji is saying BJP is India's first modern political party. I'll ask him to explain this when he comes on the podcast. Because I'm going to read the explanation, but it will be great if he explains it on the podcast as well. Thoughts on Yogi as a serious PM candidate? Yes, definitely. After he remains CM for about 20-25 years in UP because it's a disastrous fucking state. ये तो गुजरात नहीं है कि थोड़ा बहुत डेवलप्ड ही था। ये तो सब सहारन अफ्रीका का एक कंट्री है। उसको एटलीस्ट इंडिया के लेवल पे लाओ। ओवरऑल इंडिया जैसा है, यूपी वैसा एटलीस्ट होना चाहिए on the metrics. Yeah, inevitable, definitely. Maybe in between Congress will win once, but someday, तो definitely. Oh, this is a great defense of BJP for liberals, or even potential BJP supporters who are still on the fence and are still iffy about BJP's Hindu nationalism, etc., quote unquote Hindu nationalism. Bhavanasji is saying the BJP is a modernizing force in Indian politics that is first and foremost determined to forge a unified Indian nation, and only incidentally, but nonetheless indispensably, a nation that is distinctively Hindu in identity. Holy shit, listen to this. Its core program is not the creation of a Hindu state. Its core program is national modernization in a predominantly Hindu country. If, as its critics assert, the BJP has historically been Hindu and quote-unquote upper caste, it is because any major political movement emerging in 20th century India was likely to be Hindu and quote-unquote upper caste. During the independence struggle, the INC was predominantly Hindu and upper caste, and the modern INC is still led by an upper caste family. Many prominent intellectual critics of Narendra Modi and the BJP are inevitably Hindus from upper caste backgrounds as well. The BJP, to its credit, has consistently sought to neutralize or at least reduce the role of caste in Indian politics. It is an overwhelmingly Hindu party, often linguistically so, and sometimes Islamophobically so. But caricatures that portray the BJP as a hive of hardline Hindu nationalists yearning for an irretrievable Hindu past miss the point. The BJP does not want to turn back the clock on social reform. Its vision for India is that of a strong country, proud of its Hindu heritage, but moving confidently into a nationalist future. The party's promotion of Yogi Adityanath as its standard bearer in UP is consistent with that vision. Adityanath physically embodies the BJP's connection to organic Hindu society, while at the same time symbolizing its construction of a new Indian nation. In a strange but telling confluence of goals, the BJP isn't just modernizing India or UP, it has modernized the Yogi too. It has forced him to expand his priorities from temple construction and cow protection to include electricity distribution and sewage treatment, and taught him to exchange the clientist darbars or courts of the Goraknath Mandir for the bureaucratic managerialism of the chief minister's office. At the same time, the BJP has leveraged Adityanath's Hindu nationalist appeal into Hindu nationalist votes, not only in UP but around the country. The issues on which the BJP's candidates are campaigning may not always be particularly Hindu, but the society in which they are campaigning is, and that makes Adityanath, and the society in which they are campaigning is particularly Hindu, and that makes Adityanath a valuable electoral asset. The BJP is not making India more Western, but it is making India more modern. And in doing so, it is inevitably, and we don't even know what modernity in a non Western sense looks like, guys. We are the first country in the last 200, 300 years which is going to show the world what modernity looks like without being Westernized. Can Japan be said to be so? A non Western modern country? Probably, right? Holy shit, it's 11:35 already and I'm shouting at the top of my voice. Fuck. Neon, 50 minutes are up, right? I'll complete the 6 chapters. It seems safe to surmise that Adityanath himself harbors no liberal ideals for UP or or for India. BJP is making India more modern, and in doing so, it is inevitably making it more liberal. Fuck. His tenure as chief minister has brought some degree of civil service reform, honesty in examinations, a law against. That is the fundamentals of Hinduism, guys. This is happening because of the way Adityanath's brain is oriented. If he does his quote unquote illiberal things properly, society around him prospers as a liberal society. Isn't that a very Hindu thing? What the fuck? Shit. My god, cats scream like young children getting tortured. You must do what you have to do in order to do what you want to do. This is where Nietzsche got it wrong. Yogi does his job properly, others get to play liberal in that society. You can't be a skeptic in a society that doesn't tolerate skeptics. What will you be skeptical of? You can't celebrate knowledge if you don't celebrate the processes that produce that knowledge. He brought some degree of civil service reform, honesty in examinations, a law against forced conversion enforced by secular authorities, improved rule of law, and relative intercommunal harmony to a state as poor as Ethiopia. That may not have turned Uttar Pradesh into the European Union, but it represents movement in the right direction. It is possible through selective quotation and the cherry picking of evidence to portray the BJP as a reactionary force. Cherry picking, cherry picking, cherry picking. Salvatore Babanes is saying, if you call BJP a reactionary force, you are only cherry picking evidence. BJP as a reactionary force undermining an idealized Indian democracy. A more balanced appraisal is that the BJP is successfully building a modern political nation in a relatively poor, deeply religious, thoroughly non-Western society. Politicians like Modi and Adityanath may not look modern to Western eyes, but the BJP they lead is the most cutting-edge modern political party in India today. And through its election victories, it is increasingly forcing its opponents to modernize as well. The BJP does exploit the traditionalism of Indian society to win elections, but the modernizing of Indian society is at the heart of its electoral program. The BJP's New India may lack some of the post-colonial grace of the old India it is displacing, but it is unambiguously the India of the future. Those who see it as a regressive throwback to an imagined pre-modern past fail to recognize that, for good and for bad, the new India is firmly in the vanguard of contemporary global standards. क्या जीनियस लिखा है। ये सब कोड तो भाई बीजेपी के कैंपेन में होना चाहिए, यूएन में जाना चाहिए। ये अगर बाहर के कोई वो एम्बेसडर के साथ बैठते हैं, आर यू लिसनिंग टू दीज लाइंस? दीज आर इनसेन थिंग्स। ये तो मतलब ये तो बीजेपी स्पोक्स पर्सन भी इतना अच्छा डिफेंड नहीं करता है बीजेपी को भाई। बोल रहे हैं बीजेपी इज द मोस्ट कटिंग एज मॉडर्न पॉलिटिकल पार्टी इन इंडिया टुडे। ओह फक, मेरा चश्मा इतना प्रॉब्लम कर रहा है। Okay, listen to this section because Desai Deepak tried to write a section on modernity. He did not do a very, very pro job of it, but now a legit sociologist is going to say something about modernity and we must listen. This is a very educational section, okay? New India's shopping malls, mobile phones, consumer capitalism, online marketing, and micro-targeted policies may not please everyone, but they are inevitably byproducts of modernization and development. Modernity itself has always been a slippery concept. In its ordinary English usage, quote-unquote modern simply means present day. Modern ideas are today's ideas. Modern methods are those currently in use. A modern person is up to date on the latest developments in technology and fashion. Modern is what we are now as opposed to people and practices from the past. But how far past? Who and what exactly counts as pre-modern? In historical sociology, there is a firm answer to that seemingly vague question. Modernity is a done deal. The modern era was the period from the late 15th century to the middle of the 20th century, and we now live in a postmodern world. As individuals, we may all want to be as modern as possible, but modernity itself is historical passé, according to historical sociology. At least, that's the story for the Europeanized West. In other parts of the world, modernity may have arrived at different times, or not at all. In the social sciences, modernity is usually seen as a step change, a one-time transformation from the quote-unquote traditional world of the distant past to the quote-unquote modern world of the ever-advancing present. It is not so much as a frame of time as a state of mind. The founding generation of sociologists contrasted what they saw as the rational organization of modern lives dominated by formal contractual relationships with irrationality or non-rationality of traditional societies where most social irrationality or non-rationality, subtle, where most social relations were based on family or kinship ties. For these pioneering social scientists, modernity didn't arrive everywhere all at once. Modernization was a process that every society went through at its own pace and which some may still be experiencing. This is such a decolonial approach. Classical sociology associated the transition to modernity with changes in the character of social relationships from a focus on personal characteristics like shared kinship, religion, or caste, to impersonal membership in broad collectives, foremost among them, citizenship in the modern nation state. Nations demanded states and states forged nations, leading to the two concepts becoming so intertwined as to be hyphenated: nation, state. There were, as there still are, people who considered themselves to be members of stateless nations, but lacking access to the machinery of state institutions. Most of these nations have faded from history. But lacking access to the machinery of state institutions, most of these nations have faded from history, and those that remain are chronically beleaguered. They were like kingdoms. There were also, as there still are, states that governed people who did not share a common sense of nationhood. Many of these states have since disintegrated, and those that remain tend to be highly unstable. The hyphenated nation in its own state is the only stable form of modern social organization. True. Today, most of the world's leading democracies are nation states, meaning that their populations broadly embrace a shared sense of nationhood. American, Australian, French, Japanese, etc., under a unified system of administration, the state. Modern democracies where shared nationhood is contentious, like Belgium, Spain, and United Kingdom, are the exceptions that prove the rule. In each of these countries, the ordinary operation of democracy has fractured, with regional separatist parties fighting elections on identitarian as opposed to policy platforms. Identitarian platforms as opposed to policy platforms. The dominance of Flemish separatist parties in Belgian Flanders, of Catalan separatist parties in Spanish Catalonia, and of the Scottish National Party in the British region of Scotland demonstrates the breakdown of democratic politics in countries where a shared sense of national identity is lacking. Russia non-Western, they're hardly modern. Just using modern technology doesn't make someone modern. They are the only non-Western, non-modern country which has white people. For many third world countries, the problem of foregoing a unified nation has proved even more challenging than the struggle to achieve independent nationhood. Many post colonial independent states, especially in Africa but also in parts of Asia, remain divided along tribal, sectarian, or other proto-national lines. Former colonial powers may bear the historical fault for these divisions, but the present day responsibility for inculcating a shared sense of nationhood among the citizens of any particular state must be met by the formerly colonized. Having achieved independence, they have no choice but to rise to that challenge. In India, that challenge began on 15th August 1947 when the Indian nation took control of the Indian state. That the Hindus of British India were at the core of the new Indian nation was, at the time, taken for granted. After all, the parallel state of Pakistan had been created specifically for and at the behest of the Muslims of British India. But the Hindu character of the new Indian nation was not taken for granted. Late on India's Independence Eve, the country's founding Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru famously recalled that long years ago we made a tryst with destiny, proclaiming independence as the moment when the soul of a nation long suppressed finds utterance. He traced India's quest for nationhood all the way back to the dawn of history. Echoing the rhetoric of nationalists everywhere, he claimed that the Indian nation was not new but merely being reborn. We end today, quote unquote, quote of Nehru, we end today a period of ill fortune and India discovers herself again. He exulted that at the stroke of the midnight hour when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. The crowd, naturally enough, roared in approbation, but the strange fact is that at that very moment, the borders of the newly independent country had not yet been announced. Tens of millions of people listening to Nehru on the radio did not know which new nation they were citizens of, India or Pakistan.
like Balurghat in Bengal, uh, practically got independence on 18th August, because until then it wasn't decided where it will be, or it was, I think, decided to be in Bangladesh. Hours after Nehru's well-remembered speech, the father of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, took to the radio to proclaim with somewhat less fanfare that the Muslims of India have shown to the world that they are a united nation. It is easy for scholars in retrospect to condemn the illiberal exclusion of Muslims from the construction of modern Indian nationhood. But at that moment in 1947, the role that Muslims would play in independent India was far from clear. Oh, so the Muslim exclusion that we were thinking about talking to Bhavanasji about, that why does he seemingly go on blaming Hindus for excluding Muslims? He in fact is clarifying that yes, that may seem plausible, but what else was there to do? Because their stance wasn't clear, their role wasn't clear. This ambiguous circumstance led another speaker on India's Independence Eve, the Hindu philosopher Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, to lament that while India is attaining freedom, she is attaining it in a manner which does not produce joy in the hearts of people or a radiant smile on their faces. In a premonition worthy of a true scholar statesman, Radhakrishnan warned that our opportunities are great, but when power outstrips ability, we will fall on evil days. In India, as in so many post colonial states, power did rapidly outstrip ability, and those evil days came all too soon. This is the end of this chapter, because the next chapter is called The Legacies of Partition. When power outstrips ability, guys, also known as reserved parliamentary seats, also known as caste based reservations, power outstrips ability. If that happens, we will fall on evil days. I'll talk to you guys a little now, check some comments, have a small conversation while I finish my coffee, then end the live stream. We are making good speed. I wonder ये book कब शुरू करूंगा भाई, ये बहुत मजा होने वाला है. I'll get a primer on Hindu sociological view of Hinduism as well. Very Harry Pottery smell. It's a very Bloomsbury print quality. 90% similar to the Bloomsbury smell. वो कितने सारे chapters है? Dada, let's discuss annexing BD. No. My sleep is annexing me right now. आज नहीं हो पाएगा. Oh, this is a book that was gifted to me by someone called Jatayuji. His pen name is Jatayu. I keep forgetting his real name. Some Tamil Brahmin name. He's a regular contributor on Swarajya. He writes reviews for Swarajya as well as columns. This is the book by Arvindan Neelakandan, A Dharmic Social History of India. I met him in that Chinmay Vibhuti ashram retreat. That you kept in touch with your commie friend whom you grew up with? Of course, I would be otherwise left with no friends almost. And the few right-wing friends I have, I turned them right-wing. Except now that I'm meeting some friends, but they are mostly acquaintances as colleagues. And yes, I have a nice time hanging out with them, but they can't just become my real friends all of a sudden. Western in form, Japanese in spirit. Non-modern canon, Moscow is as cosmopolitan. Tenno, are you saying that just because it's cosmopolitan, it's modern? Then Roman Empire, India at one point modern India even today, all that would be very cosmopolitan, right? Modernity is more about, uh, in my opinion, and it's kind of backed by what Babonisji also said here, that how do you get about your life in a society? Just because of kinship ties or because of rule of law? That's modernity, I think. Ah. Again, reminder, guys, 25th December, 1:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Salvatore Babones will be on our podcast. Remember to prepare yourself for the questions. 26th December, veteran journalist Jaggi Bhasan will be on the podcast at 7:30 p.m. 23rd December, 11 a.m. We are meeting in front of the Bangladesh High Commission in Kolkata for a protest march to protest against Deepu Das's murder. Babones Chino. Acharya Babones, yes. Yeah, BJP is the harbinger of modernity in India. That is exactly why Salvatore Babones is arguing that. Yeah, Seeker. Firstly, if they are truly your friends, only political discussions cannot really be the main point of all your hangouts, right? You all must have other things to do, other things to discuss as well. That's what a friendship is called. And if it's a true friendship, then if you say something like that, they should not end the friendship as well, because they should tolerate it as, or even accept it, if not even just tolerate it as, okay, yeah, he's that crazy right-wing friend we have. That's how my friends treat me, so I'm not that bothered. Yeah, I was also against the CA from a libertarian perspective before I turned Hindutwadi, because I believe that it's all Indian babus that going to make mistakes, and someone's going to get sent back to Bangladesh just because of a mistake by a babu. That was in 2019. The session is about to end right now. I was studying Salvatore Babones' book Dharma Democracy. Salvatore Babones भी RSS का दल्ला होने वाला है. Okay then. Thanks a lot for joining, guys. Tomorrow is Sunday. If I come online, it will be in the first half, because in the afternoon, Krishanu will be coming. We are arranging a new song. Not for ourselves. हमारा खुद का गाना होल्ड पे चला गया है. एक क्लाइंट का गाना हम दोनों मिलके अरेंज कर रहे हैं अभी. Thanks, guys. Bye bye. See you soon.
যদি সবাই ফিরে যায়, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায়, যদি গহন পথে যাওয়ার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায়, তবে পথের কাটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। যদি আলো না ধরে, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা আলো না ধরে, যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে, তবে বজ্রা নলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে, তবে একলা চলো রে। একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো।